Did you not press record? Oh, I thought there wasn't a red light.
Oh, that happens. All right, everyone, this is take number 2. Welcome to episode 35. Braydon and Kyle are joined by Dom and Susannah Barr, Dominic Catalano. Really excited to have you guys with us today. If you don't know Susannah, she's been on the pod before, dropping all sorts of nuggets from a previous episode if you want to go watch that. And then we have an extra. We have a tag along with Dominic Catalano. He's the voice of the APP. He's a commentator. Been doing that for a few years now.
Since 2018 now.
Yeah.
So
Basically,
carry the one that's like 6 years.
When the tour started.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. When all the tour started.
Yeah, if you haven't seen his face, I know you recognize that voice. So that you can put the two together now.
Yeah, I get that more often than anything. When I meet people.
You're the voice.
And they're like, I've never met them. They're like, oh, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. What do you do? And I'll tell them what I do. And they're like, oh, that's it. They're like, I hear you. I'm like, yeah, that's what you do. You hear me. I have a face for behind the camera.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, really excited to jump into some of the topics we have planned here. Just as a kind of a follow-up from last week. So I had mentioned that I was going to St. George to compete in the PPA tournament there this week. So I did qualifiers. I did 5-0 with a buddy here, and then I did the Moneyball event. Just got my butt whooped. You know, I knew I was going to, but it still hurt, you know? But I got the experience, had a lot of fun. And there's another PPA in Salt Lake. Maybe I'll do it again.
Why not?
Sometimes you need to.
Yeah.
The Discord actually called you out. Somebody from Utah was like, is Braydon actually a 5-0? And I was like, well, I guess we'll find out at this tournament.
Oh, no.
So somebody was peeping the brackets or watching the podcast.
Or saw your post. You made a post after. I saw your post after the qualifier. You were just a little down in the dumps after it, but it's natural. I get it. I understand.
That one hurt. Like, it's kind of fun, though. Like, one of the reasons I love tournaments is like you get to feel that competitive fire you just don't get really anywhere else, especially kind of this stage of my life. Like, and it's fun. So like it was fun to feel the fire. It was fun to to feel the disappointment. Like I haven't felt that in a long time. Like it was kind of nice.
It's humbling, right?
Oh, super humbling.
It's super humbling now.
Oh yeah, very humbling. Yeah, a lot of takeaways, a lot of stuff to learn. Definitely not that high level of a player, but held my own in 5-0 for those Discord downers.
What? That's a nice name.
Discord downers.
I had a winning record.
You had a good backdraw run. I watched.
I went 3-2. Our first, the first game we played was to the kids that won it. These guys were 15 and 14 years old.
Whoa.
No.
Yeah, they were phenomenal.
That's what's coming, right? That's what's coming to the game right now.
No,
it's all over. These young kids are crazy.
This is the first tournament I've been to where I've seen like that many like 14, 15-year-olds in the higher level divisions. Like they look really good, and they're phenomenal players. And they won the 5-0. They were in the qualifiers too. They didn't make it through, but they're like that their intention is to make a run at being a pro one day.
Well, so, we got 2 of them here. You had Grayson Brandon and Chloe Gillespie, like out of here.
Yeah.
That in another year, give them another year and competing at what they're doing right now. The 2 of them are going to be 2 names that we're going to be sitting here a year from now and talking about the 2 of them. They are great players out of here in Boise, and it's just that's where the game's going. It's amazing.
Yeah, they're all over the place. And Susannah, I'm sure you're running into younger and younger teams.
Oh, I mean, I just keep getting older, so they just keep getting younger. But yes, no, it's super exciting. I'm actually playing a tournament with Chloe this summer, so that'll be really fun. And
which one's that?
The Bend, the Pacific Northwest Classic. So
nice.
We got to keep it in the house. Flying Pickle's going to be showing up a little bit here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're getting younger and they're just playing great. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and I can't wait to turn 35. I'm about 3 years out. So I played with Abe Jackson.
Yep.
He's like, Braydon, as much as I enjoyed doing this event with you, you got to turn 35 faster. Like, I don't know if I can keep this up. But yeah, it's exciting. And the future, I think 5-10 years from now is going to be very different than what we're seeing now.
Yeah, 100%. You're seeing, again, like you said, all these young players. And we talk about it when we go to tournaments now. I get to tournaments on Tuesdays now because I want to see the qualifiers on Tuesday evening and all day Wednesday. I want to sit and watch these qualifiers because if you go there, I was just talking with someone today about it. All those qualifiers, they're hungry. like the qualifiers are so competitive because they know if they don't make it out of that, their week's over. So they want to make that weekend, right? And so these qualifiers are crazy. And the reason they're only playing in that is because they have no points. So they're trying to earn those points to get into the main draw. And so going and watching these qualifiers, it is amazing because that's where all that young talent is in the qualifier trying to make the main draw. That's why you see so many higher seeds knocking off a bunch of the lower seeds, knocking out a bunch of the higher seeds because these qualifiers are good. The only reason they're qualifiers is because they don't have any points.
Yeah, 100%. And so is APP, is it set up the same way as PPA? Like it has the qualifiers, then that feeds in. There's like 8 spots open each tournament?
Yeah, it pretty much is, right? I mean, they have on Tuesday or Wednesday, they have the qualifier, and then they're qualifying for the weekend. But some of them are actually like on the mixed qualifier for APP is on the day of or the morning of for the mixed qualifier sometimes. It all kind of depends, I think, on draw size.
Sometimes they have a pre-qualifier even.
Yeah.
Depending on how big the draws are. Yeah.
Wow. There was, I think, 30 teams in this week's qualifier, and I'm sure that's not uncommon. It was just huge. But yeah, it was a great experience. And like those are so early in the week. Like these people are committed. Like they have to show up early. You're paying, extra hotel days. You're like, it's a big commitment to come. And Kyle and I were talking about this the other day, how it's getting more and more difficult to get on to the tour and compete because it takes so much more time, not only for training, but like to get there early, and like holding a job and training and doing all that at the same time is really difficult. And a lot of the players like you who are doing well are folks who have made the full transition. You've been training and doing this for a long time now.
Right. I mean, and even for myself, like I was thinking about playing singles at the next APP, but then I was like, ooh, I might have to play the qualifier, and I'm teaching clinics that day. So it's like, well,
what's going to make you more money?
right. Well, probably teaching clinics, let's be honest, than singles, but it would have been fun to compete.
Yeah.
But like, I can't take a day off like that to play the qualifier singles. So I feel for a lot of these players that are having to take so much time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the battle, and that'll evolve over time too. But yeah, I do want to say though, I want to thank everyone who came up and said hi to me while I was there to introduce yourselves. I was very surprised how many people came up. It was a lot of fun chatting with everyone. There's actually a couple stories I want to share of people who came up that were great. So the first one was, I think this was Thursday. I was warming up with my partner on a court, and this lady comes over and says, "Hey, you're Braydon. My husband watches your podcast. He really enjoys it. Do you mind waving to him? He's sitting down over here." So I waved to him across the court, and I could just like imagine the conversation they had where they're just sitting there. And he's like, "Oh, look, that's Braydon. I recognize him. I listened to his podcast." And then she's like, "Oh, you should go say hi." And he's like, "Nah." And she's like, "Fine, I'll do it."
That's awesome.
Will you please wave at my husband?
Yeah, it was so great. I loved it. And then the other one, I'm kicking myself for not writing down their names. I wish I could give them a shout out there, but it was a father and son. We talked a couple of the days. They came and watched one of my games, and supported me there, cheering me on. And then afterwards, they had one of my PE overgrips, and just for fun, they're like, "Braydon, can you sign it?" And I was like,
"That's awesome."
That was
Tickle famous.
That was my first signature. I know they were joking, but it felt great in my heart.
As long as it felt
You've
great.
made it.
Yeah,
That's it.
Have you guys gotten signatures?
That's a good question. Do you get asked for autographs?
Do we need to tell the story? I mean, we have some good stories.
Let's
of
hear one.
Susannah.
Let's at least hear one.
My favorite one, U.S. Open. I'm playing, so she was kind of watching like me on that day. And so I finished the match, and we're walking back over to where we're sitting in between matches, and we're walking past the podium. At the podium, there's a group of 20 to 25 people taking what it looks like a group shot, right, of them. Is their group, they're there for the U.S. Open. And so they're going to take a group shot. So Susannah's walking past, and one of the ladies is like, "Oh, excuse me, will you take our picture?" And Susannah's like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll take the picture." She goes to take the picture. Someone in the group goes, "Stop, wait. You can't take the picture. That's Susannah Barr." The whole group is like, "She can't take that picture. Get her up here." So she jumps on the podium. Someone else walking by has to take the picture. They're like, "You need to be in our picture." There's a group of pickleball players. If you're listening, she still hasn't got the picture. There's a group of pickleball players from Houston. And I'm just sitting there shaking my head going, "Yep, this is it." And it happens all the time. But that was probably one of my favorite stories.
It doesn't really happen that much.
It does.
But
That's
you
fantastic.
never got that photo?
No.
but,
right,
but I
guys.
don't know any of them.
Somebody
but I
find that
was in their
photo.
photo.
Yes. It was from last year's U.S. Open.
Okay.
Yes.
Somebody find that photo. I'm
Yes.
sure somebody that watches knows at least one of the people in the photo.
Yes.
The call is out. The call is out.
That is one of the best ones.
I love that. That's great. Okay, that beats mine, but I'm still gonna hold on to mine. Well, cool. So, Suzanne, I do want to ask you a question about tournaments. We're starting to get into tournament season here, and this was the first one for me this year. Another one this weekend. A bunch lined up. One thing I've always struggled with on tournament days is maintaining energy throughout the day. And like, when do I eat? What do I eat? What supplements do I take? Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like all the sports I've played in the past, like it's been like soccer, these like you prep, you warm up, you compete for an hour and a half, and then you're done. Where this is an all day event. You have to manage your energy, manage your, like there's a lot. And I was like scared to eat like a real meal. I was like, I could be playing in 5 minutes or 2 hours. And so I want to hear like what your routine is, like what's in your bag, what supplements do you
Here we
have,
go.
what are you eating, when do you eat, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I mean, everybody's going to be a little different, right? What works for them. So, I mean, supplement wise, like I have started taking like creatine and, just especially like when I'm working out and stuff.
Going
and
for gains, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
All right.
And I mean, it's supposed to help with your energy, and then just like other bunch of, just vitamins and things like that on a daily basis to just kind of, keep going. A lot of electrolytes. Probably electrolytes are the biggest one, right? And they kind of, you can drink too many. And you're just like, I am
can
done
you?
with electrolytes.
I drank a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that
it'll
hurt
work.
you?
It'll
No,
work
no,
the
I
wrong
don't think
way,
it'll
but
hurt
it'll
you,
bother your
but-
stomach.
yeah.
You take too much.
But, for me, I'm probably, it's like, do I even really want to talk about it? But I just eat all day long.
Do you?
I eat all day
Like
on
are
a tournament
we
day.
snacking? Are we talking like sandwiches? Are these like meals?
Oh, I mean, anything.
Just anything?
You put food in front of me on a tournament day and I'll eat it.
It's a complete oddity because most players, if you had 9 out of 10, they don't like to eat during the day because it's kind of hard, right? Like you don't know whether you're going to eat, like you're saying, like a sandwich or a snack or whatever, but you're not telling the secret sauce. What's the secret sauce?
What, Rice Krispie treats?
Yeah, that's it
yeah.
right there.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have Rice Krispie treats on the court, right? So, like, they give us snacks, right, in the pro
Like in the
tent.
pro tent, Rice Krispies
And
is
so
one of
Rice
them.
Krispie treats are one of them, and then granola bars. And I've actually had people write to me and say, we've noticed that you're doing better when you're on center court when you have the Rice Krispie treats rather than the granola bars.
A shout out to the APP staff in the pro tent. They literally put and set aside now for Susannah some of the Rice Krispie treats
awesome.
because they know that's what she wants. She goes in and there's like, here you go, here's like 4 for your day to start, and that's what she goes through
That's
all day long.
But no, I'm an eater, and so you'll always see me on timeouts eating stuff in my face.
So
I
like
don't
like
know.
like snacks in between timeouts.
Yeah, oranges.
But like do you still eat like a lunch, dinner, like
Yeah,
when it's that
pretty
time of day?
much. I mean, I'll eat a meal for sure.
yeah? 'Cause I was like scared to eat a meal. I don't know. I was just like, is it gonna make it too heavy?
I don't know. I mean, but people have different experiences, right? Like,
Yeah, I guess I've never tried it.
Eat a big old cheeseburger
I mean, not
right
like
before your match.
Yeah. I mean, you're not gonna eat like a big greasy meal, right? But a
all
small
they had.
meal, like
They
a
had-
sandwich.
They had a barbecue. What do you call the trucks that sell food? Food trucks.
Yeah.
You nailed that one.
Yeah, I did.
Nailed that one. The trucks that sell food? Food trucks.
Yeah, that's the one.
No,
it.
no,
So
I think a small meal.
They had
I mean,
barbecue
I
and
think,
corn dogs.
Yeah, I mean that's not the best. Though those corn dogs in St. George are pretty good with the honey and everything.
Yeah,
okay.
they
they're
did the
pretty good.
advertising.
But no, I mean I think you've got to keep fueling because you don't know when you're going to play next, right? And so small snacks probably are better than big heavy meals. But I think
So like
pack
nuts,
some peanut
Rice
butter and jelly
Krispies.
sandwiches.
Okay.
Right.
So something like that,
would work.
nothing too heavy, but
Yeah.
like something like real food, right?
Right.
Because I felt the energy, slowly go down as the day, wanes on, and I wasn't eating. I was kind of living off of caffeine,
Right. And I was going to say, how much
Yeah.
caffeine are you drinking?
like 2 Celsiuses, so
Ooh.
quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's like
It's a lot.
400 or 500 milligrams.
It's tough because now you have like Celsius a big part of we have Rainstorm is a big part of the APP, and it's accessible to all the players for whatever. And I know a lot of players they drink it a lot, and some of it I think is too much. and it will take away from your hydration if you're drinking too much of it. I don't mind saying, 1.5, depending on how long your day is, but some of them are going 3, 4, and by the end of the day, it's a crash and it's a cramping situation. And so you really kind of have to monitor it with, your intake of those kind of with your electrolytes in your water.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think I was trying to compensate for the not
Lack
eating
of
more
food.
real food because I was snacking, but I think I needed to eat more. I'm still trying to find the right formula, and
Yeah.
I think more food needs to be part of it.
Right. And a good breakfast.
Like a big breakfast.
I like a big thing for me when I played a lot more was I would literally go to, Albertsons and get an 8-pack of hamburger buns and literally make peanut butter and jelly, 8 of them, put them back in the bag, right?
Yeah.
And then just put it in my cooler. Those, because again, you get that peanut butter, you're getting some nourishment back, you're getting a little bit, but those are quick. Like you can just get to them and snack on them. Before I used to do Uncrustables, right?
Yes,
it was
same
just
idea.
easy, frozen the night before, put them in your cooler, and they're just pop open, eat. You got some peanut butter in there. You get a little bit back, but again, for me too, I agree. It's hard to eat. I can't eat when I'm playing. I almost have to force myself to.
Yeah. You're not necessarily hungry, but you need to.
Yeah.
To keep the energy going.
Yeah, I'm just hungry.
Okay.
I actually had a question about the reins. So
Yeah.
we talked about this on Discord this week, and the amount of caffeine we see pros pounding lately. In the CrossFit Games, which was sponsored by Monster, they provided the athletes with Monster cans, but they were full of water. So it looked like they were drinking Monster, but they weren't pounding Monster.
Right.
Are pickleball players offer that, or are they actually just pounding reins?
No, they're pounding reins.
Okay.
And don't come into our booth either, because between Chad and I, we're pounding reins like all day long.
But you're just giving me beef for doing 2 Celsius. How many reins are you drinking in a day?
I mean, Chad and I probably go through 2 or 3 a day in the booth over like a 6-hour span.
All right,
It's so bad
I don't
because they
wanna
just
hear it
come in and
anymore.
they bring them to us. We're like,
I've
"Here you
never
go."
had one.
Okay.
They're not bad. They actually,
No, they're good.
I like the
They're
flavor.
actually good.
At
Yeah.
the APP Newport Beach, I drank way too many of them. I think I had like 3 or 4.
I like the
they're so
good
accessible.
ideas. When they have those, they're pretty good.
Oh, they had those there, yeah. We talked-
There's
we
some more
talked
like
to that tent.
natural
Yeah.
energy.
is that another energy drink? I don't think I know what those
I don't
are.
know if it's energy, kind of an energy, but it doesn't have caffeine. It has like
They're bubbly.
other-
The B12.
It was good, yeah. I
Yeah.
tried it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So, Dom, I've never talked to you. We've chatted a few times, but I've never really talked about how you got into commentating, and I want to hear that story because there's only a handful, APP guys and gals, and on the PPA side. So, how'd you get into it?
I mean, it's kind of a funny story. I was playing in Beer City. It was 2017, 17. And I played and was out early. This is kind of the time where I shifted from playing. I was playing pro at that time for like 2-3 years. And then all these young kids started coming in, and I was like, yeah, like I'm kind of getting old for this, and they're all going to pass me up quick. And so I was at Beer City, and Eddie and Webby, everybody knows Eddie and Webby. They're like one of the original pickleball podcasts out there, and they're still going. They were live streaming Beer City in like 2017. They were like, had a huge setup. It was great. And so they were doing the commentary, and I knew both of those guys, and they're like, I got done early on my first day, and they're like, hey, Dom, why don't you jump in the booth with us? And I'm like, oh, great. They're like, pickleball, you teach it, you can talk. I'm like, fine. So I jumped in the booth with them on the first day and loved it. Like, I had a blast. And so that was day one. Next day, went out and played again, was done early. Not saying anything about my game, but I was done early. Eddie and Webby are like, hey, you're done. You want to come back in? Perfect. Jumped back in the booth with them, did another day. And long story short, I had Beer City, and then about 3 weeks later, I had the Chicago Open. And it was the first Chicago Open. And it was run by Ken Herman and Dana Joseph. Dana Joseph was basically running the whole thing. Ken came up to me, and he's like, hey, he goes, I heard you commentating at Beer City a couple weeks ago. He's like, I want to sit down and talk to you about a pro tour I want to start up. I'm like, all right, perfect. So we sat down, me, him, and Dana, at a picnic bench in Naperville, Illinois, at the Chicago Open in 2017. He told me this whole vision he had about the APP tour and everything he had going on. And he's like, I'm going to be live streaming everything. He's like, and I want you to be the voice of it. He goes, I want you to be my analyst. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He goes, one stipulation. He goes, if you do this, he goes, you're pretty much done playing. He goes, it's going to be kind of hard to play and do the commentary because I want you to do it, from the beginning of the day till the end of the day. And I was like, that's the easiest decision ever. I'm like, you see what I did at Beer City? I'm like, I'm done. I was like, so that's how it started with Ken, was in Naperville. He heard me do, the pod or the live stream with Eddie and Webby. And he's like, I like what you do. I like how you do it. You break down things well. He's like, you'd be a great analyst. And that's how it all started. That was day one I've been with Ken ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So,
dude, what a cool story.
It's unreal. And then from Ken, from the APP, it went to, the contact with USAP, with Justin Maloof, who's the COO. I believe that's his title. Don't quote me on it. But Justin Maloof's been with USAP forever. And he brought me in to get a team together to do nationals. And so we started doing nationals. I've done nationals every year except last year. But after last year, tides have changed again, and we'll be back in the booth doing nationals again this year. And then from that led to MLP. Did pretty much every MLP up to date. But right now it's kind of everything's in
I was about to say,
limbo.
that's a good question.
How everything's going, we don't know. I still haven't heard anything, but I told them, that I had what my days were available. So we'll see if I'm doing any more MLPs. But I've done every single one of the 4 entities between APP, PPA, MLP, and USAP. So I think I'm one of the only ones that's done all 4. The only other 2 that have done all 4 are Michelle McMahon and Cameron Irwin.
It's an honor.
Both Michelle and Cameron have done APP as well. So,
and now you can round it off that you're on the Pickleball Effect podcast.
That's right. Exactly.
You can add that to the list.
Add that to the resume.
That's it.
Well, that's cool, man. What a fun story. Right place, right time. You're obviously very good at it, and easy to listen to. The analyst takes is spot on. Not every commentator is good. Like, it's hard, and like a lot of people they've cycled through a handful of folks, but you've always been a staple. And I think you're great.
It's crazy because from when I started doing it, I'd never done it before. And so I had no coaching on it or anything like that. And to be honest, I had a lot of questions. And a person who answered a lot of questions for me was Cameron Irwin. I spoke to Cam a lot when we first started because I knew she did that. And I asked her a ton of questions. She was a huge help for me with even programs that I take notes with on my iPad. What's the best program to use? She helped me out so much. It was great having her kind of almost mentoring me on, what's a good time to step in to do, to say something, when's not. She had all that for me early on. So she was great. And then, everyone at the APP between, Hank and John and all the guys there have helped me and put me in contact with people who have worked with like the likes of Tony Romo and Vern Lundquist and done calls with all these people, and they've helped me. I was on a call today with a guy that is kind of coaching me on a lot of things. He watches my videos and things like that, and he's helped me a lot to kind of coach me along the way. Everybody thinks, you just get in the booth, you talk. And there's so much that goes into what we do beforehand with scouting reports and constantly knowing the players. And, it's crazy. I've had pros come up to me and go, why don't you put the code in on your iPad and let me take a look at it? Because I have about 150 scouting reports on different pros that I have on my iPad. And they're like, let me take a look at it. So,
are you coaching anybody? Are you?
I have a couple people that I help here and there. So I was coaching, a lot of people when I was still in Florida. I was coaching. I started with, I work with Shelby Bates. I work with Martin and Tammy Emmerich, Tina Pisnick.
Yeah.
When they first started.
Tina.
So it was a lot of fun. I can't say I help her because she says I don't. So she just kind of talks about that all the time, makes fun of me, but it's fine.
Yeah, you guys drill quite a bit together.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do some stuff.
He's an excellent ball feeder and ball machine, and even when I stop the drill, somehow the balls just keep coming. So it's great.
I'm a good we call a crash test dummy because she just tries to hit me constantly. So we walk away from drill sessions and I have like marks everywhere.
So you're trying to spell stuff.
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
working on things.
That's awesome. So Kyle, we've been brainstorming questions all week. I know you have a few you wanted to bring up.
I did. Some of mine are pretty controversial. I had a question. There's been a lot of talk of steroids and rumors that certain players had been using steroids, mainly in PPA, are players that they were talking about. Do you think that we're at the point in pickleball that people are using PEDs, and should there be a testing put in place? Are we at that? Have we reached that pinnacle of the sport?
Want me to take it or you first?
Sure, you go ahead.
Yeah, I want both opinions.
100%. I think yes. I think we not saying that people are using. 100% yes. We need to put it into play. It's just difficult. You have all the other major sports: MLB, NBA, NHL. They'll have player unions and player reps, and kind of they go along those routes. So you have someone looking out for the players, someone looking out for the league. Here we have just people looking out for the league. The players are more or less on their own unless they have an agent. So it's kind of hard to do that and implement that because you need someone to agree for what's best for the players. So to do that kind of drug testing is tough. Do I think we need it? 100%. The prize pools and the money that players are getting now, I definitely think it needs to be put in play because you could have players that are out there trying to take advantage of things. I played in the baseball era. I played in the steroid era. I knew guys that were doing it in their lockers, like just free and clear. And it's like, that's crazy, right? Like it's insane to think that, and you don't want that in the game. So yes, I think we should. I think we're probably a couple years at least away from getting that implemented. Though.
All right.
Is it expensive
To do that? Yeah,
Testing
because
protocols,
the outside organizations, you have like Drug Free Sports is one of them. They're based out of, I believe, Kansas City. They're one that does a lot of PGA. They do not MLB. They do minor league baseball. They do some, Olympic testing, things like that. But a group like that would be someone they would bring in, but it does get expensive too.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. It makes sense. I like your take. Like, there's so much money at stake now that those people who are taking advantage of the system, like and the people who are trying to do it right, like it's not fair.
Exactly.
everyone needs to pay the bills, and I don't think it's cool.
Right.
What do you think, Susannah?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I mean, I'm not, I'm probably not in the loop as much as a lot of the pros as far as, what's happening on the scene. And so I don't know for sure if anyone's actually using anything or not, but if they are, that feels pretty unfair. And, yeah, so I think, definitely whatever can even the playing field, I think is a great thing at this stage. And there's a lot more money out there now in pickleball, and not just with tournaments, but with sponsors and everything else. And so,
Is most of the money, whether you or other players, is it from sponsorships and clinics rather than prize money? And like, is that what you're trying to win? Like, you're trying to win their attention?
Yeah, I think
when you're trying to make money?
it's a mix. I mean, the prize money has definitely improved. But if you're not winning, if you're not medaling in those top three spots, it's a pretty big jump. So I would say prize money alone isn't going to be enough to support most people. So yeah, you're definitely, I think, working for that attention, for that notice, for the sponsors. I would say, yeah, I mean, it all goes together, right? And
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, keep going, Kyle.
Let's go.
Your questions were much more fascinating than mine.
I'm glad you think so. All right, the state of pickleball. With these new power paddles coming out, I want the pros' perspective. How do you feel about the power of these paddles? Are we at a stopping point for how powerful they are? Should we slow the ball down? Should we limit the paddle speed, the exit velocity? And should we mandate eye protection?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's been a shift with these new paddles, and I saw it watching Red Rock today, even of just it's just attack, and I even said before I went out and played this afternoon, I'm like, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to 1-2 punch it all day, all match long. That's my goal. Because it seems like that's what people are able to do and get away with it because of the exit velocity. And I mean, kudos to them. They've mastered it. They have good eye-hand coordination, hand speed. But those paddles are definitely changing the way the game is played. And I mean, it's fun to hit it hard. There's no doubt about it. But when you're on the other side of it, that ball's coming off at a different pace than you're used to. So now, we actually started drilling with him using a power paddle, just so that I can see it all the time.
Oh, that's smart.
Because before when they weren't easily accessible, the pros that don't have access to them, it's like, I don't get to see it until I'm on court with somebody with it. But that's the only, now it's like, okay, I gotta have to practice against it because it's what I'm going to see.
I felt like the game is, as far as like the style of play, the speed ups, I felt like it has been trending towards more offensive, more attacking anyways. Mm-hmm. If we weren't seeing this level of power, do you still think we'd still see the same game style, or do you think the power has accelerated that?
No, I think we would still see it. I mean, that was still the path that it's going. It's exciting. We've got more athletes, frankly, playing now, right? Who bring that power naturally, just through their form and through their strength. But the paddles have changed for sure. That pace of that ball that's just coming off it. And honestly, at the pro level, we're practicing with it. I'm seeing it more and more. So it's becoming a little less of an obvious issue as when maybe I first saw people with those paddles. But on the amateur level, that's where, it gets a little bit like you see people out there and they're just hitting the fence with the ball because they don't know how to control it. Yep. They can learn, obviously, but they see what the pros are doing and they're like, well, that's what I want to do.
So do you feel like it's less of a big deal as maybe 2 months ago when you first encountered it? It's like, okay, maybe this power isn't as bad as I originally thought it was going to be? Like, because you made it sound like you can handle it now. You don't feel as threatened by it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I still think it's pretty obvious difference between some paddles. But, we do adjust. I mean, that's hopefully why you're a pro and you're practicing. And so, even when, even a year ago when thermoform paddles first came out and it was like, whoa, what is this? Right. But then we all adjusted to it. So I do think to some degree there is some of that's going to happen, if you play enough and you practice enough. And, you're just used to it. So I don't know if that necessarily makes it right or wrong. But I do think, we see it enough times and then it's less of an issue. But eye protection, I think, is becoming pretty important. I mean, we sold a pair of glasses down here yesterday to a guy that had a nice old red eye and not just on the outside, but the actual eye. Right. But he was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
That's what it takes.
So unfortunately, right. But I don't think mandating eye protection is necessarily the solution. Like the two go hand in hand, but it's like, I mean, and that's above my pay grade for, them to decide like, okay, what is too much, right? Because it does change the game and that's not about eye protection or not. That's just about the game is changing. And is it losing, what the game was meant to be?
Yeah. What do you think, Dom?
I've not been quiet about it since all this happened. I've made numerous posts about it and backed a lot of people who have talked about the new hot paddles and everything. I think it's terrible for the game. I don't think it's good for the game, not only for the game itself but for the players. I come from a baseball background. I played in the gorilla ball era, which was when LSU had second basemen who were like 5'7", hitting 25 home runs a year, right? And it was bad for baseball, and it's bad for pickleball right now. And the best thing was USA Baseball stepped in and said, okay, enough of this, right? And the problem is what it took younger kids, 11, 12, and 13, getting hit, right? Off a bat, a pitcher, kid in California, I believe it was, lost an eye. Gets knocked out because the exit velocity off the bat was too much, right? They thinned out the walls. They were doing what they could to get a hot bat out there. And kids got hurt, and USA Baseball stepped in and said, nope, enough of that. And what did they do? They backtracked. And they literally said, okay, this is what happened here with this. We're going to back up, and we're going to kind of take that exit velocity away. And we're going to set the standard. And ever since then, it's been way better. And so I hate to say that it's going to take someone getting hurt, someone really getting hurt. You know, I mean, last year at Beer City, Jessie Irvin got a concussion. She got hit in the head.
Yeah,
with a ball off
Frazier.
Dylan Frazier's paddle, right? Me and Adam Stone were calling that match, and we're like, wow, like she got hit clean, and it's just not right to have paddles that are that hot. And so, you know, is the answer, you know, Zane went on Pickle Pod and talked about, you know, it's a great idea, and I said it too, but I don't think it'll ever work in pickleball because it's just different baseball to pickleball. But, you know, you have amateur level baseball, you can use aluminum bats, right? Yep. Once you become a pro, you use wood bats. Yep. What happens from an aluminum bat to a wood bat? Exit velocity changes. You're lessening the exit velocity.
By a lot.
Right? By a lot over an aluminum bat to a wood bat, you know? And so to do that would be difficult. But do I think that we need to start testing for exit velocity? 100%, because this exit velocity is ridiculous. And, you know, I made that post and it absolutely blew up and I preempted that post with, I love all four of these guys and I'm close with all four of these guys. And it's not about them, but it was the Deckel and Tyson versus Zane and Eric Lang.
I've never seen so many pros get hit with balls. It was in
Arizona. We were there and just watching the amount of body bags in that match because all four players were just teeing off at each other and none of them could get out of the way. And I'm like, this isn't pickleball. I'm like, but if you're going to put that weapon in someone's hand, they're going to use it, right? And so I don't blame the players. It's not the players' fault. If someone stepped in and said, okay, enough of that, we're not using this, you got to use this, the players will be like, okay, fine, we'll use that. But it's too much. And not for nothing, when I made that post, I had about 24 text messages from pros on tour going, thank you. Someone needs to say it. We need to say it more. Because if you think the pros don't agree with this, they agree with it. They want that too. They think it's ridiculous.
Susannah just said she can handle it.
No, I did not say that. I have struggled quite a bit since some of those paddles have come on scene. And but I'm just saying, you know, we're working on it because it's here right now. So you got to figure out how to handle it. But I was thinking as he was talking, the same thing was, you know, when you know that ball is going out, which I'll admit I don't know that often, but when I know it's going out and I can't get out of the way, that's me
an issue.
That's an issue.
Yeah,
and I think that happens a lot.
Exceeds your reaction time.
Yeah.
Like,
correct.
Yeah. Like your brain can't even process it. It's moving so fast.
Exactly.
And when it comes to like making rules around this, like when like they're going to switch to the exit velocity, like we know that that's the plan. But like, are they going to make? I mean, Yola's the hot paddle that's in all the pro players' hands. Is that going to be the cap, or does Yola have like enough influence where they can say, or excuse me, like if they wanted to go lower speed than what the Yola is there too much pressure from the brands as the sponsor saying, you can't do that. I have thousands of these in the market. You can't just have me recall them or have to pay them or reimburse them or something because there's so many of them out there. So there's like this pressure from the rules committees trying to make the rules, and then the brands have already got these paddles out there. They're making a lot of money, and we're seeing what we're seeing now. So there's pressure from both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely, you know, the talk and the rumors that we've heard as well. And, you know, I don't know what'll happen what USA Pickleball will do, but that is definitely the current concern is how much, you know, pressure there is from paddle companies wanting it a certain way versus what USA Pickleball decides is, you know, the standard. And I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. It's
Yeah.
going to be interesting. But that's going to have to happen fairly soon.
There's another caveat to that too, though. So APP goes along with USAP rules. PPA doesn't. So even if they do put a rule in place, PPA doesn't have to use that rule.
Correct.
So then you have
You're right. That's a good point.
a bunch of like you'll have players with these paddles that work for some tours and not some tours, which is going to be pretty bad.
That's been so confusing to me, right? So the one I know for certain, right, is like the grit. Like PPA has rules that allow for more
I
grit.
think 3 points higher.
Yeah, like a decent amount. But these paddles are still approved by USAP, but then are being used with a higher grit limit on the. I don't know. It's weird.
It is, and the players you talk to as well, they're all like, okay, these hot paddles, like it's getting ridiculous. They're like, bring back the grit, like give it more grit. We don't care if we know someone's going to have so much grit, we can adjust to that because they did. There were paddles a year and a half ago that came out that were like, you could take it and I could put it on Susannah's shirt right now and it wouldn't move if she's standing straight up. That's how much grit is on some of those paddles, and the players are like, that's fine. We'll take that over these paddles that
speed.
you can't get out of the way if someone's teeing off at you 14 feet apart, kitchen line to kitchen line. They're like, we'll take that because that's part of it, right? You can adjust to that. Okay, I know he's got a big driving and it's going to dip. Okay, I'll make that adjustment. Let me see that a little more. It's not overpowering. It's just creating more shape. They all agree. Okay, give us that back, but take away all this ridiculous power.
Yeah, and at the pro level, like you guys are able to access the power in a way that like I can't. And so like when you put that a hot paddle in your guys' hands, or like a Jack Sock or McGuffin or a Deckel who are just smoking the ball, in the amateur level, it's not the same experience. You don't see that level of power too often, and it's like some people need that to like play the game well.
Right.
And so the idea that you brought up, I think that was Zane's, about like, you know, changing the rules for the pros or with their power levels different than the amateur. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there are amateurs that can still rip it. It's a tricky problem.
It
and I
is.
don't know what the answer is.
That's the problem. That the problem is that it's a tough problem to have and deal with, and there's no one answer. There's so many answers and so many ideas. It's like, how do you really determine that?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It'll be fun to follow along. But kind of following along this same topic, Susannah, all pros have a paddle sponsor. If paddle sponsors weren't a thing, how many pros do you think would still use the paddle they're using right now?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question. I don't know. I mean, I think there'd be quite a few who probably don't use the paddles that they're using, especially right now.
Do you think they'd go for the hotter ones?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone wants to be competitive, right? And so if that's the competitive edge, but I don't know. I mean, at the same time, like most players don't sign with a company unless they've tried the paddles out and they know that it's going to work and that they like that paddle. So I mean, I don't know too many pros that sign with some company just because the money's good enough, but don't actually like that paddle. I've not really heard of that. So, but I do think, if you had a choice, you'd probably just be trying a bunch, right? Just to see. So I don't know if it would be like, well, I don't like my current paddle, or more just like, well, now I have options. I'm going to try everything and see what's the best thing out there for me.
Yeah, that would be fun to like have a tournament where there's no paddle sponsors, just see what people come to play with. Because I bet it would be mixed up a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
don't
you
know.
see it with the players that are in between sponsors, and it's like every tournament they're playing with something new.
Yeah.
Right. Just trying it out and seeing what sticks.
So when you're at the level like you are, where you have a level of control that 99% of people don't, I feel like you could control any paddle. So like, what are the attributes you want from a paddle? Like, do you want the most power you can, the most spin you can? Like, what are the things you care about? Because like especially for Kyle, like you have to really find a
He just
specific
wants
paddle
power.
that fits him.
I don't though. That's not.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like I need a little more help with control than you do, and I like power isn't necessarily a good thing for me, and like there's gonna be paddles that fit me better.
Right.
Like what are you
I
looking
think
for?
it's the same thing. I mean, like I'm playing with the Selkirk Power Air right now, and it was a bit of a jump to play with it, but I'm super happy, and I haven't switched, right? And they've had other paddles.
With a lot of releases since, yeah.
Right, they've had a lot of paddles that have come out, and it's because I didn't realize that I needed more power, right? I actually needed more hand speed that it gives me and a little more pop, and so so that was a good fit for me, and it was something I didn't really realize that I was lacking before. So I do think that, even at the pro level, there are, some players. I mean, I talked to some players who play with, some of the new paddles coming out, and they're actually like, it's too much, right? It's too much for me. So I think you have both, but just like we can learn to adjust to these paddles somewhat, we can learn to hit with them as well. I mean, we do have, there is that kind of, I don't know, a little higher level there that, you give most of us a paddle and we're going to figure it out pretty quickly and make it work better than maybe some of the amateurs if you just handed them a random paddle. So,
yeah, that makes sense. The Selkirk's got some stuff coming out.
Yeah.
They got their new amp line that was kind of showcased this week. I think Sock was using it.
Yeah. Played
Actually,
well with it.
I had a question about that. So when they do drop a new paddle, I'm sure you try it. How long do you give it before you decide, nope, this isn't for me?
5 minutes.
Whoa, okay. For real?
Literally,
Okay.
it was.
That's all it takes.
The only one she attempted was the Vanguard control.
Okay.
And we got it. So we taped it up, got it to her weight, what she wanted. I honestly think she hit like 18 to 20 balls with it. And she's like, no, I'm good. She's like, where's my air? Where's my power air back?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think it would depend. Like if I knew it had characteristics that I wanted, I would give it a longer try. But it's honestly, it's tough when you have like so many tournaments, because if you're worried that there's going to be an adjustment period, it's hard to kind of take that time.
To really adjust to your next
really
battle.
adjust.
And I think we've seen that in the pros. Somebody switched to a paddle and all of a sudden they don't play very good that first tournament.
Yeah.
Because they played with another paddle the weekend before because pickleball happened so quickly.
Right. But there's definitely some new paddles coming out I'm excited to try. But I mean, everybody's a little different, and like for me, I have things that I like that other players might not like swing weight matters, the weight of the paddle. If it's too heavy for me, like I don't want it. It makes me hurt, and so so I'm looking at things like that too.
Since you've been in the gym so much, has the weight you like in your paddle gone up?
No.
Oh, I don't know.
No.
She's swinging like Thor's hammer now.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like
my
10
paddle's
ounces.
not that heavy. But yeah, I mean, it's more that, like, if I know the paddle has something that I think I would want, then I'm tempted. Then I would probably take more time with it.
That makes sense. Like the controls are like the total opposite of the airs.
Right.
That one I can imagine, but yeah.
And the air,
it's just
and
not
the
there.
power air took a long time to get used to because it is so unique in a way. But once you figure it out, I'm like, it's fun. It's a fun paddle.
Yeah.
It makes people like
I remember
it's fast.
we talked about that
Yeah.
when you were on last time and how you mentioned it took you 2-3 months to get super comfortable with it. And I think people who do switch to a paddle that has the characteristics they want or are looking for that they want to add to their game, like they need to give it more time than a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, if they give it enough time, can figure it out, dial it in, get used to it. Just spending a lot of time with the paddle, it goes a long way. Switching often can hurt you, I think.
Yeah.
Dom, what do you play with?
Whatever's the newest paddle from Selkirk. I'm that guy.
You're that guy.
Right. As soon as the amped, we get it in our hands, that's
Switch
what I'll
to
be
the amp.
using. All right. Right now I'm using the control the Vanguard control, which I like. I was using the Lux. So again, I use whatever. It's newest, and it's got to look good too. And Selkirk does a great job making the paddles look good. Many colors. Got to match what I'm wearing.
You gonna get that new collab paddle?
Absolutely.
The Roan.
Is it Roan?
Oh yeah, I got the Roan gear on right now. Okay. As soon as it comes out, I gotta have it, right? And so that Roan paddle, as soon as I get that in my hand, that'll be what I'm using.
Yeah.
Selkirk's
But once
got
I
sheet.
find a paddle, I just stick with it forever. Like I
Me, I'm
used
like-
the yellow Maxima for so long before the Power Air, and now I have a specific Power Air I like better than the other ones.
Like a specific color?
yeah, and that's
Well,
funny.
your color that you've been using, though, are they going to be making it anymore?
I mean, I just keep requesting them to send them all to me. And then,
so you're just getting the surplus?
I have my signature on them.
Put like a white tape over it and then put Susannah Barr over it.
This is the Tyson paddle.
Yeah, exactly. It's Susannah's colorway now.
That's great.
If you're watching Selkirk, just give her that color.
Just change the signature stamp on
I know.
it, right?
It can't be that hard.
I saw some Selkirk shoes at their booth this week too. You wearing those? No, you do Mizuno, right? Mm-hmm. You got them, but you got Selkirk.
I wear shoes.
You wear?
Yeah. Yeah, the black ones are on the way.
Well, there you go.
But they do have the white, navy, and orange ones. It's not a good colorway for me, even though I'm a Bears fan. But I just didn't like that colorway. But the black and white ones look all right. So,
yeah, I tried their original, like their first ones, and like they weren't bad. But I wasn't like sold. Like I'm gonna switch my Nikes out for these. But I haven't tried the new ones out. But I think it's cool that they're going for it. Like why not get the complete athlete look? Toe to top, toe to head.
Athlete. Yep.
Yeah, so far they haven't had women's shoes, so I think. But I don't know if they did at the booth, but.
I don't know.
So I haven't tried them, but no, I'm happy with my Mizunos. A lot of fun colors.
I'm not sure I know the difference. Is it just sizing between like men's and women's?
Not necessarily. I mean, sizing's part of it, but sometimes it's even just like the heel cup and things like that for women's tend to be a little deeper, just because our arches tend to be a little higher and things like that. That
I didn't know that.
Makes a difference.
Okay. Selkirk,
interesting.
You listening? Women's shoes.
I'm still waiting for Jordan has made like a couple tennis shoes that I have both of them. So I'm a Jordan guy. So
you got his number. Call him up.
I always have my Jordans on.
Call him up. Get some pickleball shoes.
Yeah, I know. I have they came out with they were Air Jordan. They were 3s that were tennis shoes they made for Rafa. I was wearing them last night. Remember? I wore them last night.
Look at your
I wore them
shoes.
last night.
I was busy working.
Yeah, if you follow Dom's Instagram, half of his stories are Jordans.
And shoes, yes, they are. They are 100%.
I love it. I love it.
So I got a question I'm running by you guys. So this week in St. George, it was so windy. The first day, the day of the qualifiers, it was like averaging 15, gusts up to 20. Like it was just really windy. I know you've played in those conditions before, and at that high of a wind, like it's not as fun to me. I don't enjoy it. It's a wiffle ball. It's super light. It gets moved around, and I actually did some spin tests in the wind too, and I thought this was interesting. So I was looking at the RPMs when the wind was normal, I was getting fine. But if I got like a little gust of wind, it would knock down the RPMs by like 200-300. And so, which is significant. So that will determine a ball going long or not. Mm-hmm. So not only is the wind like shifting the ball, but it's also knocking down spin. It makes it even that much more difficult to control. And it just wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. The following days it was more manageable, but I feel like this has come up in a lot of tournaments. Like wind is a factor. Like should pickleball, because the ball's just so light, like should it be an indoor sport?
Like, I mean, we have an amazing facility here. That'd be super fun to play indoor tournaments in, out of the wind. I don't know though. I like a little wind here and there.
You don't mind it?
I don't mind it. I mean, yeah, over 15 miles an hour, it starts to get, where the game again has changed. And actually, to me, that's where power comes into play. So if you're a power player, you're gonna have more success in heavy winds. But under 15 miles an hour, you can manipulate the ball with the wind and use the wind kind of to your advantage potentially. So it adds another little chess element to the game.
Yeah. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I did notice that, the players that had a little heavier drop, a little lower, a little more sting to them, can kind of cut through the wind a little bit on their drops. But, weak sauce players like me who have a little loft to it, like it gets pushed around and it's harder to get the right trajectory. And like I was struggling.
Yeah,
and,
it definitely can get frustrating for sure. And, again, it's not ideal, right?
There's only one. I can only think of one. Like there's like 2 indoor tournaments a year. There's not many.
Oh, you mean the big indoor tournaments?
Yeah, like it hasn't really caught on.
No.
Yeah, we did APP. We did Chicago,
Miami.
So those are our 2 big ones, and then we have one more coming up.
I mean, these big tournaments require a lot of courts. Mm-hmm. So,
aren't the facilities to support it?
Right,
maybe?
there aren't facilities that have enough courts at this stage. And I don't know for sure, but my guess would be it might potentially cost more to rent large facilities
Versus a
like
park
convention centers and things like
the
that.
electricity, it's just everything.
You got to
Yeah.
lay, and if there aren't already courts here, like in Miami, like they're laying out courts, and they're building courts essentially.
That's
from
always
scratch.
amazed me that a lot of these tournaments, like, actually, I don't really know what goes into that. Like when these bigger tournaments, like they build the grandstands, like they're laying out resurfacing courts, right?
Right.
Yeah, you talk about like the crews that go in there, like the APP and Intersport crew. If we have a tournament that starts on, say, Wednesday, that crew is there on Sunday, and they're working from sun up to sundown, setting up everything. I mean, the amount of work that those men and women put in is insane. By the end of the week, like on Sunday, we know all of them. We see them all. By Sunday, they're like on their last leg. Like it is Sunday to Sunday for them with tournaments set up and everything that goes into it. It's amazing what they do, and they are really like the heartbeat of what goes on for tournaments.
Jeez, yeah,
That's cool.
And if it's a back-to-back tournament, finish Sunday, drive, start setting up Monday, Tuesday again.
Yeah, exactly. Like the back-to-backs, I couldn't imagine for them. Like I could not imagine. Like it's hard enough for us getting there and having like a couple days in between where we have nothing. They don't have any days off. It's Sunday. It's tear it down, get to the next venue, and you got to start setting up right away. So it's crazy.
That's brutal.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into that I've never really considered, and now I'm like starting to like process and think about it. Like these are huge events, and there's a lot of stuff that goes up and down each time.
About the LED boards that go up on all center courts for MLP, PPA, APP, all of them. They have all these big LED boards. What goes up into those? Talk about wind. We were in Delray. They were setting up the LED board on qualifier day.
Oh no!
They had to shut down center court. They were using it because they set up the LED board. We're talking about wind. In Delray, all of a sudden on qualifier day on Wednesday, wind gusts were like in the 25, 30. They shut down center court because they had to take down the LED board because it was about to go down.
I was like,
that
I hope
goes
it didn't
down.
fall.
Forget it. You're not coming out of that one.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Well, we've already hit an hour. This has gone by fast. We're gonna have to get you guys back on it. Yeah. You haven't opened the water yet this whole time.
I'm so thirsty.
Camera zoom in.
Hydrogen water. It's gonna pop in my face though because it always explodes a little bit. Ooh, not too bad.
Oh, it didn't.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was clean.
So if you're
was
listening, Susannah has
her own water.
Her own water. Like it's literally got her face on it.
It does.
Like
But
you
you're
can put it
showing the
right next to your
nutrients right
face
now.
and it's the same thing.
It's pretty fun.
And like, Doc, we were talking about the water here. Like, this brand, I've never heard of them until you were on there, and so I went and bought some when I saw you post about it. But like Manny Pacquiao, like who else?
Some other MMA fighters and Susannah Barr.
And Susannah Barr.
I mean, you just never know.
So what's the story? How did that sponsorship come to be?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a local guy who is growing pickleball in the Native American communities. It's pretty cool, honestly. It's fully. He's doing some free events actually this weekend in Oklahoma City for Native Americans. So I've talked with him a lot, kind of helped him brainstorm how to grow pickleball in the Native American communities and all this. And so he just honestly connected me with them. He's part of this organization in some way, and he was just like, I think this would be really cool. They do a lot of neat things as far as supporting organizations, and so I just really like their mission. And when they first contacted me, I was just kind of like, this is sort of funny, but I'm like, sure, like, okay, I'll put my face on a can, like, I don't know. But I've met them since then. They actually came to the US Open, and
awesome.
just getting to really know the company and know the owners, and just kind of their goals, and honestly, like, they're incredibly passionate about hydrogen water. Like, and when you talk to people who have actually researched it, the science behind it's pretty amazing. And so I'm actually super excited to kind of be part of their product and their project. And they want to go full into pickleball. And I just, sometimes
you're the avenue.
Sometimes
They
cool
came-
things happen to you.
They came to the U.S. Open, two guys, and they were like in awe of what like the tournament scene is.
Yeah.
And they are like, we talk to the people for the U.S. Open. We're here next year. We're getting a booth. We're getting a huge 6 foot, 8 foot cutout of Susannah Barr, putting it right out in front.
Love it.
They're like, we're all in, and they are just all in on pickleball right
That's
now.
cool.
It was their first event they've been to. They absolutely had a great time. So, and they're super nice guys.
Yeah, that's the big thing
it's a
about
gr-
it. They're
just
just
a
really
great
nice,
thing, yeah.
And I do like a lot that they stand for, and so always, that's kind of important when you're picking companies to work with. That you like the products, you like the company, you like their standards. Those are all things that at least I like to think about, and so now my face is on a can of water, and
Congrats, it's super cool.
and it tastes good.
It is. It is good.
That's cool.
It sold me. I bought it because your face was on it.
Right there, you
See,
go.
there it is.
That's kind of
It's
weird.
working.
So on something like that, does Selkirk have to approve you being on the face of that with a Selkirk paddle?
It's a
Yeah.
funny story. Tell them a quick story about that.
I did email them, and because they made, so I took the picture.
Okay.
Actually, Porter took this picture. He did a
Like
great
right here.
job. And then I sent it to them, and they changed the color of the paddle to match the can. And I was like, ooh, I better check on
Locked
that.
in did, yeah.
Locked in did. And Selkirk was like, oh, that's totally fine. That's great. So they were very happy. I've had lots of people say, where do we get that color of a paddle?
Yeah, exactly.
That should be your
I
color.
saw it. I'm like, oh, that navy blue color. That's a nice paddle.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all good.
Well, fun stuff. We'll close it off that. Thank you guys for joining. We'll definitely have to have you on again. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank
Thanks,
you guys for
guys.
having us.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.